Welcome to this second tutorial on the design cycle, where we're going to look into how you can use this schematic of a design cycle to structure writing your coursework or your project. So we've got a standard design cycle with 4 main phases: plan, create, test, review if you're going round again, or final evaluation if you've finished. Now, if we, instead of using this graphic drawing, if we line them up as in a linear fashion, we would start with an introduction, of course, just very short, 3-4 lines, just to explain what the main aim of a project is. It's a good idea to refer back to your design criteria at this stage. Then you go into the plan, and as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, so make sure to use any form of graphs, diagrams that you've been taught, such as mind maps or flow charts, because they will help with your explanations. Of course, you should explain in writing each key part of your project, and also in your plan you should define some success criteria which are based on the design criteria that you've been given. You then move on to the creating part of your project, and my advice there is to aim to have one subchapter or at least a paragraph per key element of your project. Regardless of what they are, if you've identified them as a key element, make sure you dedicate something just for the purpose of evidencing your own knowledge of the technique you've got to display in that one project. So make sure to give an example of each key technique, and remember to explain how you used it and why you used it for higher grade. Of course, you've got to use loads of print screen in your creating phase because you have to prove you've actually did it. And those print screens should always be annotated or commented. Once you finish creating your project, you move on to the test. Something very important in the testing, while my younger students will give you a test table, the older ones, or those aiming for very high grades, it's important to create your own test table. Because if you do so, you're taking a complex problem, the testing for the project you've been given, and then you're going to break it down into very simple steps, very simple test, because a test, it's Boolean, it's yes or no, pass or fail. And the ability to take a complex problem and to break it down into smaller chunks is evidence of high level thinking. So make sure you create your own test table, and then you explain how and why you created it the way you did. Once you've done that, that's a harder thinking done, but you still have to do the test, which should then be very simple: yes, no, a comment, or some notes when there's a test that's not very conclusive, or something that you found that should be refined maybe in a second round of the design cycle, or if you have not got the time for that, as a suggestion for further improvement. Then you can evaluate your tests, and then yes, it is an evaluation, so it could be placed maybe as a first paragraph inside your evaluation section, where you have to evaluate each key section of your project. So you need to evaluate your test, your creation, and the plan itself. And then in the end, you will write a final paragraph to evaluate the whole project, and that should include how your project compares with the design criteria. And if you need to repeat something you've already wrote earlier in your project, it doesn't matter. This is a very powerful way to finish your project by referring back to the design criteria, as well as suggestions for further improvement. I hope this has helped you, but before we and I'm actually going to stop now, and then I will do a third a third tutorial to show you how you can put that into a Word document.